The date is March 17. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. There are 12 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Jamaica. The number was revised down after 3 of 5 people who had tested positive in preliminary tests Monday were confirmed negative. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton gave an update at a media press briefing on Monday at Jamaica House.
340 persons have come into the island from a country of interest since January. This is effective today. There are 12 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Jamaica currently. Last night we had said 5 were preliminary confirmations. The confirmatory tests were done. 2 are positive. So that adds to the 10 that were positive prior. So there are now 12 confirmed cases. The actual positive numbers are 12. We had 5 preliminary positives up to last night, and I should say it. Ideally, you don't give preliminary numbers. It's really not best practice. But I must admit that we have had a lot of fake news out there, and it has created a lot of mischief in terms of persons narrating a particular approach and so on. So we did, in the interest of trying to overcome the need for speculating, give the 5 preliminary positives. But I'm told since this evening, 2 of those 5 came back positive, 3 negative. So we really have 12 positive cases in Jamaica.
Dr. Tufton also gave a general status update on the cases throughout the island.
26 persons are in quarantine in a government facility. 43 are in home quarantine. And this does not include the citizens of Bull Bay, 7 and 8 Mile. As you know, that entire community is quarantined, and that's a population of about 12,000. 23 persons are in isolation at government facilities. In terms of the Bull Bay quarantine area, that is 7 and 8 miles, Bull Bay, St. Andrew, the quarantine remains in effect. Up to yesterday, a team from the KSA Parish Health Department had visited some 269 households and interviewed some 642 persons. 1 person showed symptoms and was transferred to isolation. We continue to provide critical services to the community.
Questions were raised as well about the status of patient 1 and 2, the first confirmed cases of the virus on the island.
I can say that that patient 1, not patient 0 anymore, the first patient that was tested positive, is stable. In fact, I was at the university hospital last night, and the doctors gave me a brief to suggest that the 2 patients there were the 2 original patients, or 2 original persons who tested positive. They are stable and improving. There is a protocol, by the way, to determine when you release a patient. It's a 2 negative tests within a particular period, I'm told, of each other. I think it's 48 hours.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced a new raft of measures in the wake of a COVID-19 outbreak in Jamaica. Holness told a media briefing that he's exercising his powers under the Disaster Risk Management Act. Marlon Samuels reports.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness is exercising his powers under the Disaster Risk Management Act in wake of the COVID-19 outbreak in Jamaica. Mr. Holness told a media briefing that all measures will be for 7 days, effective Wednesday, March 18, and will be reviewed after 5 days to make a determination whether there is need for escalation. The measures will include self-quarantine and limiting public gatherings.
All travelers from countries where there is local transmission of COVID-19 will now be required to self-quarantine for up to 14 days. Hospitals are required to follow this new protocol, which is that hospital visits are now reduced to once per day and to 1 person. The government is also instituting a new requirement for public gatherings. A new restriction, rather, is being implemented for public gatherings. No gathering in any public space of over 20 persons. So 20 up to 20, but we still recommend that you do not gather at all in public places, and if you gather, you maintain the required 3 to 4 feet distance from each other. The reason why we're promulgating these measures under law is that the Constable of Police is now empowered by law to take action if it is observed that there is a gathering in excess of 20 persons. Now, this has particular consequences. It therefore means that funerals are subject to this. My advice would be to limit the attendance at funerals as much as possible to close family members. Now, if your family is like mine, it might be tricky, but given the circumstances, I am appealing to you to be considerate of your family members and the general public. Limit funerals. I guess the same would apply to weddings. And it really pains my heart to have to say it, but it is what is required in this period of time. So far, what we have seen is that churches have taken on, many of them very proactive, and you know, they are doing what was done in the early days of the church. And of course, we say for all religions, all people who worship, that we take into consideration the new restriction placed by the government. And we say worship at home, worship in small groups.
The new measures will also affect bars.
Now, I know I'm going to be criticized because I don't drink, but bars are closed. We are restricting the opening of bars. Nightclubs and other areas of entertainment. So if we're talking about social distancing, then clearly that is one area that we should just act decisively on. Markets, another area of concern. So we have treated markets, supermarkets, corner shops and pharmacies as essential for the continuation of life. They will remain open.
Public transportation will also be affected by the new protocols.
Under this order, the JUTC and Montego Bay Metro will be required to only carry passengers seated. Only passengers seated. In terms of taxis, they are required to carry one less passenger than they are licensed to do. That is the restriction as of now. So if they were licensed to carry 5, they will carry 4, and if they're licensed to carry 7, they will carry 6.
Failure to comply with the orders as outlined can attract legal penalty.
There is a penalty section, and if you fail to comply, essentially, you're liable to a fine of $1 million or imprisonment not exceeding 12 months. Be warned, the laws will be enforced.
Mr. Holness maintained that the government was not shutting down the country's operations, but was finding the most effective ways of maintaining social distance to deal with the COVID-19 problem. For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness has indicated that as of March 18, 2020, all non-essential work, that is work that can be done remotely, should be done from home. This applies to both the public and private sectors.
Effective this Wednesday, March 18, 2020, the government will institute a new policy of requiring for 7 days hence this time, this is the 18th of March, 7 days from the 18th of March, that all non-essential work be done from home. So we are going to be asking the permanent secretaries to examine all functions within their respective ministries, departments, and agencies, and where they are considered to be non-essential, that those be carried on at home or remotely. We are now formally requiring the private sector to do this. I happen to know that many members, many firms have already started. Now we are formally requiring it to be done. This is not sending home people to do nothing, because I know that some people are looking for a holiday. We have not declared a public holiday. What we are saying is, let us move some of the work to the home. We are not shutting down our economy. I don't know if you could take the manufacturing line and send it home. If you could do that, and your workers can work from home and produce, if you can come to that arrangement, that's fine. If not, maintain your social distancing, your hand sanitization regime, the good practices.
Mr. Holness was speaking at a Jamaica House press conference on Monday. The Minister of Transport and Mining, Robert Montague, has shared some useful tips for the country's public transportation sector to observe in order to curb the spread of coronavirus, COVID-19.
Passenger, a little hand sanitizer for you. Strap in, please.
So you're doing the right thing, driver.
Minister, it's you. Welcome aboard, man.
Thank you very much, man. The public passenger transport sector is that body that can help stop the transmission. And we can do it in some simple steps. Disinfect your vehicle very often by spray or using wipes. Sanitize your hands or wash with soap and do it often. Advise your passengers to cover their mouth and nose if they are coughing or sneezing. Stay away from persons with flu-like symptoms. And if you are sick, stay at home. You know, driver, together we can conquer this. The public passenger industry can help to stop the spread of this virus if we just cooperate.
Yes, Minister, we just need all hands on board.
The state-run Jamaica Urban Transit Company, JUTC, is increasing its sanitization regime for buses. In the meantime, persons taking public transportation are urged to exercise great caution in touching surfaces and to sanitize their hands before entering and after leaving public passenger vehicles. Please cover your mouth and nose if you have to cough or sneeze. But most importantly, if you are ill with a cough, if you are sneezing, if you have an elevated temperature or have difficulty breathing, avoid taking public passenger vehicles. And Jamaicans will see less JUTC buses rolling out daily in light of the growing number of coronavirus cases locally. The state-owned bus company's corporate communications manager, Cecil Toms, says the public transportation company has taken steps to minimize the risk of COVID-19 being spread on its buses. He says there is a robust schedule in place for the cleaning of the buses. The Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, says parents and guardians wishing to visit their children are being asked to make contact with their caseworkers. This as the agency will not be visiting child care facilities for the next 14 days. The agency added that sanitization sessions are being held with children and caregivers about personal hygiene and mandatory periodic hand washing. Sanitization stations are also now in place, and a special disaster fund was distributed to all child care facilities to aid with the purchase of emergency supplies. Persons are being encouraged to call 876-948-28412 or email info@childprotection.gov.jm instead of visiting the CPFSA offices. The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information will be providing nutritional support through Nutrition Products Limited to students on the Program of Advancement through Health and Education PATH for the period that they will be out of school over the next 2 weeks. In a statement to the media, the ministry said under the food support plan, Nutrition Products Limited will prepare snacks comprising baked products, fruit juices, milk and water for students on PATH at the primary and secondary levels. Principals will be asked to suggest distribution point for schools, which will be utilized over the next 2 weeks. The Coronation market will reopen on Thursday following sanitization. The team of cleaners have cleared substantial areas of vendors' stalls. Old pallets, wooden stalls, tons of plastic and other forms of garbage mixed have been cleared from the largest market in the English-speaking Caribbean. The main area close to Spanish Town Road, Darling Street has been totally cleared, and the cleaning of cobwebs in the iron ceiling to manholes in the dirt yard, utility toilets and bathrooms are showing signs of how immaculate the market could eventually become. People whose entertainment permits have been cancelled as a result of the threat posed by COVID-19 could seek deferments rather than refunds. That's the hope of St. Elizabeth Municipal Corporation following the government's ban on all such instruments until month end as part of a push to discourage large gatherings as the threat of the flu-like coronavirus intensifies. CEO of the municipality, Errol Liebert, says currently the municipality earns an average of just under $200,000 monthly from the granting of such permits. And the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, says its team has taken the necessary measures to ensure continued delivery of the critical service of garbage collection while ensuring the safety and well-being of customers, team members and their families. In a statement Monday, the agency called on citizens to join in taking all measures possible to contain the spread of this virus. These include securing your household garbage by properly bagging, tying, and placing in a container, drum, mesh, receptacle, or skip for collection. Double bagging garbage containing tissue, gloves, face masks, and diapers. Placing your storage receptacle at the front of the premises where it can be accessed without hindrance 24 hours per day. If you have or see uncollected garbage, feel free to contact the NSWMA on their toll-free or WhatsApp numbers or via their social media pages. The Jamaica Customs Agency, JCA, is advising that it remains fully operational at the country's air and seaports and assures its customers that there are no restrictions on ban on importation of goods from countries impacted by the COVID-19 virus. In this regard, the Commissioner has indicated that in keeping with the Government of Jamaica's national response strategy in combating COVID-19, the JCA has instituted the relevant health measures and protocols in promoting the well-being of its employees. Residents under quarantine in 7 and 8 miles in Bull Bay, St. Andrew are being urged to remain inside their houses as the government steps up efforts to contain community spread of COVID-19 respiratory virus. 12,000 people are on lockdown in the neighborhood. Since the lockdown, which began last Friday, video footage has shown residents moving freely about the quarantined area, raising questions about the possibility of spreading the coronavirus among themselves. The lockdown is being implemented under sections of the 2015 Disaster Risk Management Act, as well as aspects of both the Public Health Act and the Quarantine Act. The city of Wuhan in China was the epicenter of the COVID-19 outbreak, leaving thousands of infected, hundreds dead, and prompted a lockdown of that city. A Jamaican family living in Wuhan has shared their experience on how they coped with the pandemic and the lockdown.
Hi guys, we are the Shirleys from Jamaica and we are sending you this message from our home in Wuhan, China. That's ground zero to COVID, right guys?
Yup.
Yes, and I'm Aline.
I'm Bevan.
I'm Chase.
And I'm Cruz.
And we want you to know that in spite of the worldwide pandemic of the coronavirus, there is light at the end of the tunnel and there is hope. Wuhan has been on lockdown for almost 2 months now. That's just about
52 days.
52 days. Yes, and for the first month or so, we were able to move around freely, even though most businesses were closed and there was no form of public transportation. But now we have to stay at home all day, every day. And in spite of that, we are healthy, we're giving God thanks, and life has been good.
The family also shared some useful preventative tips.
Remember now that not everything will apply strictly to your situation.
Okay, some of the things that we have done, we have limited our travel outside our home, and when we go out, we wear the surgical mask. We beefed up our immune system with a brew that we have had from Jamaica, which is ginger, honey, garlic, apple cider vinegar, and sour oranges. And there are trees here in our apartment complex in China with sour orange, and we are making best use of it possible.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, we practice good hygiene. We wash our hands frequently. Whenever we come from outside, we wash our hands and we remind each other not to touch our face, which is hard sometimes.
Difficult, yeah.
And we have been playing a lot of games inside, board games, dominoes, stuff like that. And we keep in touch with family and friends and laugh a lot.
Yes.
Of course.
And we want you to remember that COVID-19 is not a death sentence. So Cruz can take us through some facts, right? Give us some facts, Cruz.
Okay, sure. So remember that China's population is about 1.4 billion people, which is
with a B.
Yeah, which is nearly 500 times bigger than Jamaica. As of today, March 15, of the 81,048 confirmed cases in China, about 67,023 or 83% have fully recovered so far. And every day, over 1,000 cases are fully recovering. So we can definitely say that this pandemic now, will soon be in the rearview mirror for China. A lot of the chaos in China occurred in the early stages because there was not much knowledge about the virus. So the hospitals were overwhelmed, but now there's a lot more information and the rate of recovery is skyrocketing. So yeah, soon there will be no more cases in China.
Yeah, and Jamaica and other countries can now benefit from the knowledge that has been developed over these few difficult months. So I think that your experience should be a lot less dramatic than it was in the early days for us and for China.
JUTC and nephew plans to donate 100,000 liters of high-strength alcohol to be used as sanitizing and cleaning agent, mostly to hospitals and homes. 50,000 liters of high-strength alcohol will be made available to state agency National Health Fund for onward delivery to hospitals and clinics. 20,000 liters in bulk will go toward producing hand sanitizers for civil service, and a further remainder will be made available to JUTC and nephew staff and communities close to where the company has operations. They include the corporate area, Clarendon and St. Elizabeth. The spirit manufacturer and distributor has a 195-year history of operating in Jamaica. The US dollar on Monday, March 16, ended trading at 136 Jamaican dollars 68 cents, up by 47 cents. That's according to the Bank of Jamaica Daily Exchange Trading Summary. The summary also indicates that the Canadian dollar ended trading at $99.09, down from $100.26, while the British pound sterling ended trading at $168.38, down from $171.73. In regional news, the Guyana Election Committee, GCOM, says it has completed all preparations for the recount of Region 4.
The Guyana Elections Commission this afternoon said it has completed all the arrangements for the commencement of the national recount exercise, as agreed to by President David Granger and the opposition leader Barra Jagdeo. However, the Guyana Elections Commission said it wants to see a signed agreement between the two leaders and CARICOM in place before the exercise could be operationalized. The agreement between President Granger and opposition leader Barra Jagdeo was reached over the weekend, but the Elections Commission only found out about it when the CARICOM chairperson issued a press statement. That resulted in several meetings yesterday with the CARICOM high-level team that will overlook the recount. Meetings were also held with the GCOM commissioners and terms of reference were worked out after President David Granger made it clear that CARICOM's role must operate within the framework of the laws of Guyana.
I propose that the CARICOM initiative should operate within the legal framework of the Constitution of Guyana and respect the role of the Elections Commission and the rulings of the Supreme Court. It will not act independently.
This afternoon, the container with the ballot boxes were transferred to the counting site at the Arthur Convention Center at Liliendal. From early this morning, commissioners and party reps and other officials were in place for the recount.
We took a decision collectively, if not explicitly stated. The tacit understanding of everyone is that this process must commence in the shortest possible time. My understanding or my hope was that it would have started early this morning. We are now at 10 to 1, even taking into consideration the tasks that had to be completed this morning.
Initially, they had hammered out an agreement. We were exposed to the terms of reference this morning as to how they're going to get everything done, and only to find out that they were supposed to come here and sanitize the place. They've sanitized the place. They've gone through what they needed to, and then we heard that they wanted to spray the place for COVID-19. I don't know what kind of insanity is that, because as far as I know, this place has been fairly closed for a while. So I don't know how you're going to get in there and say now that you're going to sanitize for COVID-19 when the building was not used. So it's all delay tactics. At this point, we were anticipating a 4 o'clock start. Obviously, GCOM did not get a hold of us because we are expecting that they're going to provide last-minute notification to us and then have everyone hurry up to get here.
The Guyana Elections Commission has made it clear that it is resolute in ensuring that the process is conducted to the satisfaction of all stakeholders so that the electoral process could be concluded within the shortest possible time. The recount will begin with the Region 4 ballots. There were 879 polling stations in Region 4. That means ballots from 879 ballot boxes will have to be counted before they move on to the other 9 regions. The Commonwealth and the Organization of American States have all welcomed the move by CARICOM to be part of the recount process, which was initiated by President David Granger. Both bodies, which had observer groups in Guyana for the elections, have indicated the importance of Guyana getting everything right with the elections.
Trinidad and Tobago's government has taken a decision to lock down the country's borders for a 14-day period. The announcement came from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley on Monday. We get more in this TTT news report.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley made the announcement after a special cabinet meeting on Monday. He said there's a need for the country to isolate itself from a supply or source of the COVID-19 virus outside of Trinidad and Tobago.
The cabinet met this morning and has taken the decision that Trinidad and Tobago will cease to encourage and facilitate for the next 14 days entry into our country, except under exceptional circumstances, the entry of persons who are not nationals of Trinidad and Tobago.
He said the Minister of Health through the Minister of National Security will make exemptions.
For example, our CAFA workers, health personnel, and similar essential persons who we need would have to come in, and therefore such persons would be exempt. Other than that, we are basically disconnecting ourselves from the international community for the next 14 days. Schools and places of learning will remain closed until the beginning of term 3, which is scheduled to begin on April 20th. When I spoke about the closure of school for a week, I said in the first instance, I am now returning to that issue, and as part of our national response, the schools will remain closed until the 20th of April. Cabinet took a decision today that all bars will remain closed. Persons operating bars where people gather to drink and socialize, because our objective is to deny the virus connections from person to person. We are instructing that gatherings beyond 25 be avoided at all costs except under unavoidable circumstances.
In sports, we lead off with athletics, as for the first time in its 125-year history, the Penn Relays will not be held. The organizers made the announcement on Monday in light of concerns of the highly communicable COVID-19 virus. The organizers, however, left the door open for a scaled-down event to be held later in the year, should the threat of the virus be lifted. In its place, Penn will endeavor to host a substitute track meet at a later date in late May or early June. In some good news, Olympians Kamar Bailey Cole and Ristonena Tracy have tied the knot. Congratulations have been pouring in from track and field fans and colleagues for the couple, who have been in a relationship since 2009. The nuptials happened on Saturday. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, keep safe.